Hey there, McAllister with Toasty DIY, and today I've got ChatGPT here with me, and we're going to test GPT to see how well it can homebrew content for D&D. If you're a dungeon master like myself, then homebrewing content is something that you've done probably in your life, where you've thought a mechanic, an idea, or something that's not written in the rules, and you create it yourself to use in your campaign. Well, today I just want to know how good GPT will be at helping me out if I want to homebrew things. One of the things that I constantly think is interesting is that high-level mages should kind of craft their own, like, third or fourth level spells. I mean, we know that the Circle of Eight, you got like Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion, Big Beast Big Hand, Tensor's Floating Disc, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and these spells that are named after other great wizards. So I think that it's interesting to have wizards create their own spells, especially in your world, to prove how strong they are. And that being said, I'm curious how well ChatGPT could create a spell. So let's just ask it to create a 5th level abjuration spell. All right, let's see. Spell name Tarman's Resilient Ward, Abjuration, so it's got the correct type of magic for the School of Abjuration. 1 action, verbal, somatic, and material components. A small diamond worth 100 GP, which the spell consumes. It lasts for 1 minute concentration. You call upon the legendary knowledge of Tarman, the Arcane Guardian, to weave a powerful protective ward around yourself. For the duration, you gain several benefits. Resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage from non-magical weapons. All right, pretty normal. You have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. That's pretty strong with your concentration saving throw. And let's see. You can use your reaction to absorb a spell that targets you and is at 4th level or lower, causing the spell to have no effect, instead granting you temporary hit points equal to twice the spell's level. That's actually a very cool mechanic. And once you use this reaction, you can't use it again save for a short or long rest. Additionally, your concentration is broken while casting the spell. The spell ends. You lose temporary hit points granted by it. I'm actually a large fan of that. So let's see. If it can generate us a spell, I'd consider that pretty nice, but let's ask it for a magic object of varying rarity. So let's go with, can you make a magic sword of rarity common? 1d8 special property. Once per long rest, the wielder can invoke the magic blades, cast the message cantrip, allowing to whisper a brief message to a creature within range they can see. That's pretty cool. I like that the name ties in directly with what it can do. I like that it tries to give you a description of it, which is nice if you're somebody newer and you just need to generate some loot. So maybe it can help us generate a treasure hoard for a CR 10 dragon. Let's see how fair everything. CR 10, so this should be 10th level. And let's assume that if they're fighting a dragon, they're probably in like a mid to high magic world. So let's kind of read out with this idea. 7,500 gold pieces. That's pretty good. 3 gemstones worth 1,000 gold pieces each. I'm assuming they're going to get a lot of renown for this. So that feels like a good amount of just gold on its own. An ornate platinum chalice to adorn things worth 1,500. I like this kind of art objects. That's kind of cool. So they're walking out of here with like 7,500, 10,500. 12,000, 14, 16,000 gold. All right. And now we got magic artifacts. Shield of Dragon's Bane. Craft a shield that adorns the scales and claws of various dragons. Magical shield grants +2 bonus to AC resistance from dragon breath attacks. Okay. That's pretty good. It's very much a dragon item. Now, the dragon probably killed somebody and got that. That'd be very easy to logic out. An amulet with a shimmering blue gemstone that grants resistance to magic damage from spells. That's pretty strong. I don't know, 10th level, maybe. Maybe it would need to require attunement, which this doesn't note. But I think if that required attunement, that could be worth it. Having your damage from spells, your tank could really love that. Ring of Dragon's Flight. This allows the wearer to cast Fly at will, but only while they're within 1 mile of a dragon. Maybe it doesn't require attunement because of that. And that's an interesting idea that if dragons are such primarily magical creatures, that it allows you to fly within a mile. But I'm afraid this become a magical dragon detector. Like, you constantly just try to cast Fly, and if you can't do it, then you know there's no dragon within range. But if there is a dragon within range, you'll suddenly fly out of nowhere, which would be a funny way to detect there's a dragon nearby. Depends on your world. I could see that being used to limit your players from flying everywhere, but I'm afraid they'd use it as a dragon detector. I'm glad that I remembered to include scrolls and tomes, because I honestly forget to reward spell scrolls to my players in order for my wizards to learn new spells. But that is pretty cool. That's some nice ones. Control weather, true sing. Feels like a little bit of a random hodgepodge of magic items for this dragon. I felt like we started out with some good ones, but the idea that it has that Dragon's Bane, Arcane Warding, and then Dragon Flight, as well as control weather, it seems like an interesting horde for a dragon. It's not like one thing particularly. I think it would want to control a lot of nice things, but I don't know, it just feels odd. A vial of dragon blood said to potent magical properties. Clearly that'd be something they can harvest from the dragon, so I don't know if that really needs to be part of the loot. And then epic weapons, Blade of the Wormslayer, legendary sword, forged from the scales of dragons. See, these feel like weapons that come out of your encounter with the dragon, not one that you get from its lair. But I like these general ideas of one that does extra 2d6 versus dragons. That's nice. The Dragon Fang bow, advantage on attack rolls against dragons. It's very cool, but it just feels odd that you're getting all these from the dragon itself. So far, I like its ability to generate items. I like its ability to generate spells. I'm not sure I would use it to generate a horde. Now, I might ask it to generate me a list of artifacts and magical items, and then I will go through and just spot check them. That's really nice because I like some of these ideas. I don't give a lot of weapons that are specifically damaging against certain monsters besides the fact of like giving silvered or magical weapons so that they work against shadows and ethereal monsters. But I do kind of like this idea that you're getting ones that work and give you advantage against a certain type of monster, especially if you have a campaign that like centered around like the killing of 9 dragons, 9 primordials, slay all of them and game over, you win, congratulations. That'd be kind of cool. However, in this case, I'm not really sure I would want those in my game. But let's see. Maybe hordes is what it can do. Let's see if it can generate a dungeon for us. A 5-room dungeon. So here's a 5-room dungeon. Description. The hall is dimly lit. Cool. At the center is a dusty old tome. Encounter as adventurers trigger a magical ward causing skeleton guardians to rise from the ground and attack. Doesn't say how many, but nice for... This is a crypt. Okay, so you enter, pedestal. Maybe it's the name of the dead, who are in the crypt. But there's a magical ward. Skeleton guardians rise. They attack. Room 2, patterns on the floor. The adventurers must decipher the symbols and patterns to unlock the stone door. Okay, so it doesn't actually give you a puzzle, just tells you there should be a puzzle, and this is generally the outline. I kind of wish it gave me a puzzle, but I totally understand that it didn't. If I asked it for more, maybe it could generate a puzzle. It seems like a crazy thing for an AI to be able to fully wrap its head around, but I like this idea of a floor puzzle is not new. Room 3, Guardian's Lair. Constructs coming out of the walls, pretty normal. Chamber of Reflection. A role play. The mirror presents adventures and illusions of the deepest fears and desires. That's pretty basic. You need some really good role players to make that super interesting, or it's kind of like an opening to their characters, like who are they, what are they afraid of. Description: the final confrontation, powerful artifact, ancient relic, guarding it is an awakened sorcerer, undead. All right, well, it could generate the general idea. I'm sure it'd be helpful to generate room ideas and then kind of steal from them, but I wouldn't be able to just generate this and run one off the fly. Or maybe I could, for the sense of I wouldn't necessarily expect my players to be deeply engaged since it's pretty much just generating a very basic dungeon. I'd have to spice it with my own stuff, but I guess it's functional. In theory, this is a good dungeon for somebody who wants to start out and just kind of wants a basic layout because they have to run it immediately and they just can't improv it. Wouldn't be the worst. But so far, the spell, I'd give like an 8 out of 10. I think that's pretty great. I think it could use some tweaking and balancing for a 5th level spell. The Blade of the Whispering Wind, I think is pretty easy, pretty nice. I think that's like an 8 out of 10. I mean, honestly, if I read this in somebody's like book of magic items, actually I wouldn't be caught off guard. So I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I would believe a human wrote the properties part. Maybe not the description, but I don't know. There's just something ChatGPT about some of the ways it describes things when it tries to write like any sort of fiction. I feel like it has a similar voice. As for the Horde, I would give this like a 5 out of 10. Maybe it's good for everything up to the artifacts. I'd probably just rather ask it for a list of like basic spell scrolls than I would ask it for like this kind of conjoined list. It might be better to ask for particular items and then compile them all yourselves. As for the 5-room dungeon, I don't think it would pass for anything beyond an outline for what you're about to write. I wouldn't try to run that by myself by any means. And lastly, we're going to ask it for a NPC. Give me a shopkeeper, NPC, and his shop list. All right. Bartholomew Greycastle, middle-aged man, smile, welcoming demeanor, keeps his salt and pepper hair neatly trimmed, comfortable apron, simple attire. Greycastle's wondrous emporium, a quaint shop nestled in the heart of a bustling market district. He's knowledgeable of magic items, takes pride in what he does. Cool. Has healing potions, potion of invisibility, fire resistance, assorted spell books. Yep, cool. Ever Burning Torch, Amulet of Health, Ring of Feather Falling, Cloak of Elven Vine. Those are very basic D&D items. Arcane supplies are ink quills, parchments, nice. Miscellaneous magical items, Bag of Holding, Movable Rod, Decanter of Endless Water, Sending Stones pair. Bartholomew shop is a trove of magical wonders. That's okay. The shop's not too bad. If you really needed one on the fly, actually, this is more acceptable than the dungeon. I'd give that like a 6 out of 10. I like it. I'm not like blown away by it. I think you can pretty much open up any DM's guide and just look at the list and start naming off items and kind of get a similar list. I don't know what I'd expect it to do. I'd expect it to do to stand out, but this is serviceable. This would work for my game if I suddenly got brought to a shop I didn't know about, and they said quickly, "What's the name of it?" I don't think the Grey Castle's Wondrous Emporium is a bad name. I like this general description of him, and pretty good. So I would say, as far as ChatGPT does for homebrewing, I think it'd be great to make some, like, you can probably make a new school of magic with this. Now, I don't know if it can make a subclass. That'd probably be the most interesting thing I could ask it to do. So one of the things that I wanted to create at some point was a chef subclass, kind of a non-magical healer, able to give resistance through certain meals. Like if you're in the cold and they cook hot chocolate, then you get resistance to cold damage for the rest of the day. If and I wanted these subclasses to be like the butcher, the like ale master, and I think the last one was like the monster cook, with the idea that you could cook everything, and each one of them will give you their own little things here. And it looks like I asked it to generate a subclass, and it seems like it's got the basics correct. Like we need the hit points, hit dice per level. There's that. You get your speed from your race. Armor being light armor. I like this. Cooking utensils are considered improvised weapons. They have cooked utensils. So this is interesting. It suddenly invented cooking as an intelligence stat, which is interesting. It just totally made a new skill, which I'm not against. In Pathfinder, you have these like special ones you can kind of make of your own, but that's not in 5e, so that's not totally right. So this is clearly going to not be like 10 out of 10, but I like where it started me. You get the following equipment: granted a chef's knife or a simple weapon, frying pan or cast iron skillet, common clothes or an apron, cooked utensils. I feel like cooked utensils should include the knife, so you should just get a weapon here. I do like the idea of a frying pan being a weapon. I would say a chef's knife or a frying pan, maybe, or like a mess kit, something special. But at first level, you gain proficiency with cooked utensils, also double proficiency for bonus to cooking checks. There are no such things as cooking checks. That doesn't really work. Second level, you gain flavorful dishes, short rest by expending one of your cooked utensils. So why would you have to expend the utensils? Seems kind of interesting, but you can create a dish that provides nourishment and comfort to up to 6 allies. Eating the dish during short rest allows your allies to spend hit dice to regain points as if you had taken a long rest. I could see that the like cook would give you a song of rest kind of effect with having a better short rest because you ate, but I don't see it giving you a long rest for short rest. It's kind of wild. Third level, you have a culinary specialty that represents your expertise in a particular aspect of cooking. You got chef, baker, alchemist. Okay, that's nice. And ability score improvements, extra attack, pretty basic. Cook's resilience at 9th level, you can extend beyond the kitchen, granting resilience. Advantage against poison and resistance to poison damage. Makes sense. At 20th level, you're a culinary master. Your legendary dishes grant powerful effects that is consumed once for a long rest. You can spend 1 hour creating a feast of 12 creatures. After consuming it, the creatures gain temporary hit points equal to the cook's level. Advantage on saving throws against being frightened, and advantage on ability checks made to resist exhaustion. I like the general ideas of this, but I feel like it's just like too weak for your 20th level thing. Like I would say, you get 20 temporary hit points. I think it'd be like 40 to make it a 20th level ability minimum, and that means you also probably need to like change it to like advantage on saving throws against like maybe cold or heat or some different like status effects, not being frightened. I feel like frightened doesn't have any idea with food. The chef has some special abilities here. I mean, looking at this overall entirely, I like the way it took it. I think Alchemist is a little out there, but you could ask it to change it. I think this wouldn't be a terrible spot to start, as it seems to understand the correct levels in which you should achieve certain things. But the base mechanic of the cook with these using cook's utensils and this cooking skill that doesn't exist, I think it's a little weird. But overall, I'd give that like a 3 out of 10. I would never run that. I would never give this to a player and expect them to be able to run this class and have fun, as it doesn't seem to lay out enough rules to make it interesting. And they took the most generic with extra attack and ability score improvements to try to like get away with giving you special abilities at 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th level. I know that the classes do this, but I just find it's kind of weak when you level up and all you get is an ability score improvement. I always like getting a new skill. I think that's always fun, even if it's small. Resistance to poison, and ability score increase, something like that. I know you can take features in order to kind of make that spice happen a little bit more often, but I think it could do better. Well, overall, I think I would give ChatGPT, depending on what it's doing, if you want it to generate spells, good for you. I think it'll work. Generate magic items, I think it'll be good. Generate items for Horde, loosely, have it generate them independently, and I think it'll do fine. I would not have it make a subclass. Maybe start off your thing, because I think if you copied this and then went through and hand changed everything, like the outline is great. The actual details need to be changed. And I wouldn't necessarily trust it to generate a dungeon, but honestly, I like the outline of the class more than I like the outline of the dungeon. But that's all that I think from somebody who's run the game for a while and enjoys it. I would definitely use ChatGPT, and I have used it whenever I run into issues where I'm struggling to think of something. But I hope this helped you, and find out that if you want to use ChatGPT to improve your game, go for it. I wouldn't lean on it like a crutch. I think the improving ability is very important. So don't try to write everything out, especially if you're going to just use ChatGPT's words. It starts to get stale pretty quickly. It uses a lot of the same fantastical descriptions, if that makes sense. Even though they're all unique descriptions of unique worlds, you'll start to feel the same rhythm that ChatGPT uses over and over again, and I think it's best to be avoided. So thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, leave comments down below, and I appreciate you. Peace. Thanks for coming.